All right, Gen Z, please don't be offended, be challenged by this, because you're not all in this category here we're about to cover, but this is a growing and troubling trend in the workplace. And I'm raising 3 Gen Z, so I like Gen Z. I don't like to use broad brush accusations or generalizations of any demographic. But this needs to be covered. So 2 stories here about Gen Z that I got to cover. Headline, KPMG, one of the world's largest accounting firms, is offering extra training to Gen Z recruits. And so that's the headline. Here we go. Graduates and apprentices are now going to be required to be in person for what they're calling induction weeks. And in those weeks, spend 3 days a week in the office, because they are requiring this to help them onboard from a soft skill standpoint. So if you're unfamiliar with the phrase soft skills, it just means people skills. And so think of soft skills, people skills, and then hard skills are more of your skills that are technically measured, right? So you're good with your hands, good with your brain, whatever. Okay. So KPMG is offering extra classes for new Gen Z hires on things like giving presentations in person and how to collaborate with a team. Now, this is pretty stunning to me when, because you can read stuff like this and you go, okay, that makes a lot of sense. We all need help with this. And I would say this is true of every generation. However, if you think of college education and the amount of money parents are paying, or the amount of money that kids are borrowing, and they come out of school with a degree and they don't have the basic skills of how to give a presentation. In other words, how to stand up in front of a group of colleagues or customers and give a presentation. It's mind-boggling to me. Don't know how to collaborate with a team. So they didn't play youth sports, or if they played youth sports, the parents were all about them, and so all they ever thought about was them. So they've engaged in very little teamwork activity. But my point is, and I'm not going to go off and bash college, okay? But I am going to raise the question. For all of you pro-college people who think, oh, it is the next best step for my kid, or it was the next best step for me, I understand the importance of getting trained in a specific field of work and qualifying you for that field of work. But my goodness, if you spend all that money and you don't come out of there with basic ability to do a presentation or to know how to collaborate and be a team member, I feel like you need a check back. I feel like you should get a discount. It's kind of like if I order a nice meal at a restaurant and I order a steak and I order a nice side, and let's say that they bring out the sides. I ordered 2 sides for the table, and the steak's good, but the sides suck or something's wrong with them. I'm going to go, look, I'm not paying full price for this meal. It's like going to college is the steak. You get your degree in a certain area as your steak. But if the sides didn't come out or you didn't get the sides, I want a refund. Pretty fascinating. Now, here's what they're finding in this study. Much of Generation Z is saying, they're raising their hand going, look, I spent the last 2 years doing remote classes. I haven't interacted much. And now you got hiring managers saying they believe that Gen Z has had their growth stunted as it relates to basic communication and people skills. Okay, so I'm going to say what this article's not saying. I'm a parent of 3 Gen Zers. Let me tell you what the 2 biggest factors are to stunting these kids and their emotional and their communicative skills, people skills. You ready? Number 1 is the phone, and I could probably just say it's the phone, period. But I think it's the phone and social media, 2 specific ways to use the phone. The phone has replaced regular communication in the form of texting. Now, I've said this before, and my wife doesn't listen to my show because she's got a lot more in her life going on. I'm glad she's not listening today because I was talking to her about this the other day. My wife is in her 50s. My mother-in-law is in her 70s. We were in the car coming back from the airport the other night, Alex, and they were having this very detailed conversation over text. And I'm watching out of the corner of my eye as I'm driving, my wife feverishly texting. I mean, the thumbs are just like, just firing away. And she's kind of like, she's like, well, my mom didn't know this. And she's kind of cluing me in on the conversation. And I'm sitting there driving. And I've been watching what amounts to about a 10-minute text conversation happen. And I finally say to my wife, and by the way, this is an ongoing conversation. And now she just laughs at me. And I go, why don't you pick up the phone and just call your mom? Because what took 10 minutes of detailed texting would take 2 minutes in a phone conversation, right? But this is what the phone has done. This stupid thing has stunted all of our communication. So I'm not picking on Gen Z, but Gen Z doesn't know life without this thing. They were babies and we shoved this device in their hand and they've grown up, and you know what they do? They don't talk to each other. I kid you not. I was taking my boys to a game about 3 years ago, and their buddies were in the car with us. I had a full Suburban. And I watched them text each other in the car. They're sitting next to each other. And they had a group text going. Now, partly that was because they probably didn't want to say the stuff they wanted to say in front of me. I get it. But the very fact that they would do that. You see what I'm saying? It's a new option. It's replaced eyeball to eyeball, knee to knee conversation. That's the first thing. Texting has ruined all of our lives. Chat. All of it. It's obnoxious. Look somebody in the eye and talk to them. Second thing is social media. And they obviously access social media via the device. But social media is another thing that's just stunted everything. Because now everything's about a comparison. And they can't actually communicate unless it's social media friendly. All right, second article. So that's why they're having to do this. And listen, this is the right thing. Real leaders who are going to lead this generation, they're going to have to go, you know what? I'm going to dig in, dive in, roll my sleeves up, and I'm going to teach these kids how to communicate. And by the way, you will separate yourself. So I say bravo KPMG. Now, second issue on and I'm going to get to this quick because this is the kind of story right here that gives me a Pepsi AC Tums moment where I need to pop one in because of my heartburn. All right, headline, Gen Z job seekers are bringing mom and dad to interviews and it's turning off employers. You think? Oh, mom and dad, please let your child learn how to live. Stop this. This is madness to me. This is from a study by Intelligent. They surveyed 800 managers and directors and executives that are all involved intimately in hiring. And the consensus is employers are trying to hire older professionals, even though they're going to have to pay more in salary and benefits. And the reason is they're trying to avoid new college grads. 39% of employers who responded to this said they prefer to hire older job seekers. In part because these young professionals don't make a good first impression in job interviews. Now, I want to stop on this really quick. If you understand the first article I shared as a leader and you go, this is what I'm dealing with, and you don't throw your hands in the air, meaning, yes, frustrated, miffed, have all the emotions of how is this even possible that we've got, okay. But if you can get beyond their first impression and you go, do they have the raw talent? And do I think they're teachable and coachable? And if that's the case, press forward. Keep going. Don't just throw your hands in the air because they don't present right out of the gate. They haven't been raised right. All right. More than half the employers said young recruits struggle to make eye contact during the interview. 50% said they asked for unreasonable compensation. Well, again, they're clueless. They've never lost anything in their life. They've never had to work for anything in their life. God bless these candidates. Not all Gen Z, by the way, but these type of candidates. They don't look at you in the eye because they've been looking at the phone. They haven't had to look their friends in the eye. You think they're going to look you in the eye? Give them a little grace. Understand you got to coach them. And this issue of young people showing up with their parents, I'm not blaming the young people for that. I'm blaming the parents for that. These parents should have said, no, Sonny, you're going to be okay. Let me help you prep. You're going to do fine. Come on, parents. get out of the helicopter.